Okay, so last week we talked, or on the last episode, we talked a lot about very high level. What's the mindset of a business owner, an entrepreneur? We talked about um, being prepared for the adversity that comes along, and it's really a test of who you are. This week, I think we wanted to get more practical and maybe take it from inception. You know, what's that spark that takes someone from a non-business owner into business ownership, and what does that path look like? You're smiling a little bit with that.
Because I think how people get there from like A to like A and a half is is different. It's so different. But and I don't know that there's any one right way, but it does seem like the majority of folks who ultimately develop a successful business, it came from a singular idea that they were relatively obsessed with and worked that through and built a business on it, as opposed to, just trying to come up with an idea, like feeling this desire to start a business, but I don't know what I want my business to be about. I have to think of something, you know what I mean? Like that usually doesn't seem to play out. It's because you have to have that, right? You have to have that, just that crazy burning obsession for this thing that's just been bothering you for months or years. And you're finally going to go out and do something about it, because it's that fire. You need that fire. So, and I've heard people say that, and I get it. If you've never done it, like, what are you going to do? What business are you going to start? And I've had people who know I'm an entrepreneur, and they've asked, and like, yeah, I'm trying to think of a good idea, a good business idea, and I don't know. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it just seems like more often than not, it's the person who's singularly focused on that concept, and making that concept be the, the thing that drives them for the next 20 years of their life. That seems to be where the success comes from.
It's interesting. I'm thinking back on my earlier days and the different businesses that I went through. I guess as an entrepreneur, but more just trying to break out of corporate life than anything else, and trying to break out and have a business of my own. I wanted to be a photographer, and I went kind of all in on photography for a while. I thought I'd be a wedding photographer, and I thought I would. Other opportunities came along, and after a bit, some of them are embarrassing, but I studied and passed everything I needed to do to become a stockbroker. And then I started working with a stockbroker, and he's like, okay, all you have to do is cold call these people. And so I made it one day. Like, I can't do that. I'm cold calling anybody.
And I do think that there's a difference too. That's a good point, because to me, there's a difference between, feeling that this is the thing that I'm obsessed with and I'm going to go out and doing it and failing and finding out, what a horrible idea that was. And then, chasing the next thing that you're wholly passionate about, or that sparks, interest. Like, I mean, entrepreneurs are fail, 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 fail,
Yes.
fail, 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 success. So
Yes.
I'm not saying an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur is not going to have, 20 businesses by the time that they're, or have gone through 20 businesses by the time they're done. I'm just talking about, I don't know what I want to do. Let me sit down and go through a Rolodex of ideas in my head and pick one
Right.
that's hard because you probably don't have that burning desire for something that you picked out of a Rolodex. And for anyone under the age of 40, a Rolodex is a thing that we used to use, where it kept all of our phone numbers for contacts. There's little index card type things, and you would actually spin it, and all the people in your contact list would flip through. Google it. I'm sure you could find one on eBay for probably $200.
And how influential you were was how many cards you had in that
That's right.
Rolodex.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not just flipping through and going, oh, maybe I'll work on this and make this a success. I think there's much more of an all in, because there's some fuel behind it. We see a possibility in it. We see ourselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just brought up a great point too about all the fails.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's inevitable. And one of the things that you have to get used to as a business owner is failure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to say about that? Because that's an important point.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit, maybe the first episode.
Yep.
It's inevitable for sure, and you have to be okay with it. And that's I think that is a big part of what carves an entrepreneur out in this in the separation, or separated from other business venturing types. And nothing is better than the other or anything like that. It's just a little more risk tolerance. I'm gonna go out and do this thing. I realize I could fail. I don't think I am, because I got a screw loose and I'm just gonna keep going.
Yep.
But if I fail, like, I'm okay with that. And what did I learn?
Yep. So let's put a pin in the failure piece and go back to what happens. What's the next thing after someone goes, "Ooh, there's the business, I'm going to go after it"?
So I think you need to start gathering feedback in one way or another, right? Before you take anything to market, you got to test that market, and test it simply with the idea. So your friends and your family and that, your partner, throw that out, talk to them, throw it out there, see what they think. And you have to understand that the vast majority of them are probably going to put it down.
Yes.
Right.
Of course they will.
And you have to go in knowing that and be prepared for that. And don't bring emotional attachment into that, because they're going to do it. But look at the value of what they're saying. Listen to their objections, and then take those objections back to your cave, because if you're about to become an entrepreneur, you're putting all of your money into the business idea, and probably no longer have a home. So you're living in a cave. Bring it back to your cave, and and work out those objections. And think your way through it, because they're probably valid in some ways, even if it's just about the economy. Oh, it sounds like a neat idea, Chris, but I don't know if now's the time to do it. Well, somebody who does not have that entrepreneurial spirit is never going to think that now's the time to do it. And you already know that, right?
Yep.
You do have, but there's value in what that person said. Okay, we are in a recession, or we're going into a recession, or there's this going on with the economy, or we're in a war right now, or whatever whatever things are happening out there that might have an effect, you should think that through, and look at your concept, look at your idea and say, is this something that's going to be drastically, affected? And if so, why? And why not? What can I do about it? What can't I do about it? Am I okay with the things I can't do about it? Is it worth waiting 6 months? Is there something can I get this started? And by the time it actually launches, I mean, what if you're building a product? I mean, it's going to take you a year of investment and time, if that, probably more, and by the time your product actually comes to market, you'd be out of a recession and then you're hitting your stride. So, don't let those things, deter you, but just use them to work your way through problem solving.
So who do you listen to
That voice in your head
more than anything else?
more than anything else.
Interesting.
And it'll get you in trouble sometimes. You have to be okay with that. You're gonna say, why did I listen to you? Little man on my shoulder. Why did I? Because you might not see it now. You might not realize, but you needed to. And those failures and those problems, those are all things that you need to go through. So when you come to those, shit, I really messed up on that one. That's not a reason to pack it in. That's a reason to figure out how to get out of it.
Yes.
And not get into it the next time.
And move through it. Yep. Yep. So what do you think is the next thing that someone ought to know when they're going from non-business owner to business owner?
What do you mean? Like what?
In
terms of a technical step by step, could you just?
Yeah, maybe a technical. Here's where I'm really going. I don't think most people know how many hats they have to wear when they're a new business owner. You think that your business is going to be performing a task, but it isn't that. It's everything around that. Like you and Meg started your pet sitting business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the focus might have been, oh, this is great. We're going to walk dogs all day. We're going to visit cats in people's houses. And, that's the world. But really, that's just the technical piece that you had to do. Taking on a business now brings in all these other things that you have to handle. Right. The finances, the marketing, the
customer service, customer relations, all of it.
Yeah.
The legal.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big focus in the E-Myth. To me, that was a big takeaway from the E-Myth. If you ever read the E-Myth or the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, I do feel like I referenced that a lot, but that was a very significant book that spoke to me in my journey. And they talk about the technician, and what happens so often is that the seasoned technician, the person who has been, I don't know, what are we talking about? Building widgets. I don't know. They're the engineer and they've been designing the widgets, or they've been on the line and they've been assembling the widgets, doing something significant in the process for this widget company. And you do that for 15 years and you see how the dumb boss doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and the regional manager she keeps messing everything up, and then this guy over here, and I kick ass. I do make more widgets than anybody else in here. I should start a widget company.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can do this, and that's the myth. That's the entrepreneurial myth, is that, anybody can take it and go in and start doing it.
Yeah.
And quickly those technicians find out that, oh, there's all of this other stuff that I've not
Yeah.
realized. Now I am doing the books, and I'm dealing with customers, and I'm dealing with shipping issues, and I'm dealing with this. Man, I just want to go back and build my build my widgets. I'm really good at that. I'm the best. But all this other stuff, and it can be an awakening. So I think you have to really and you can't. I don't know. I was gonna say you have to really prepare for being ready to wear all the hats. I don't think there's anything you can do to really prepare for it. Um, you have to experience it. You have to go through it, and you just have to not quit. And you find a way. You'll find a way to get through it all.
Well, I think there's a difference between what happens to most of us and what could or should happen. And knowing, having someone help you with, okay, these are the piece parts that you also have to get in place in order for your business to be okay, uh, can save some time and trouble.
Mhm.
Things like having an accountant, having an attorney, and it it's very early for uh, for someone to look at those services and go, oh, I really need them. But I'm I'm very glad that I had some smart people talk to me about uh, what type of business should I have in terms of a legal entity. Should it be an LLC? Should it be a corporation? Should it be an S corp? Should it be a C corp? Should I just do business as? And what are all the ramifications of that? Average person isn't going to think about that.
Right. Right. And I want to get into a lot of that step-by-step process as we continue, with these podcast episodes.
Yep.
Because I think it's something that like I just said, you have to kind of figure it out as you go, but it's sort of a shame. Like
Yes.
there is no book, and there's no resource like that. I mean, let me back up. Of course there are books. There are lots of books, and lots of resource, but there's no, it's all self, like you have to go and self-educate yourself
Yep.
on these things.
Yep.
Small Business for Dummies, or like there's a million books out there. But there's no support like there should be for small business owners and entrepreneurs. There's no, you have SCORE, you have some consulting groups, and they help in different ways.
Yep.
But I don't know. I've just never felt like there's been, an agency, or like that's affordable. I mean, we're talking about small business here. We're not talking about, going out and raising millions of dollars and starting your tech startup. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned lawyers and accountants. Like, if you're truly talking about starting a small business, you can't go out and put a lawyer on $30,000 retainer.
I know.
It's you're doing as much as you can yourself until you get to the point where, okay, I need an actual contract. I should even draft the contract, do the best that I can, and have the lawyer redline it rather than have him start something from scratch, because it might save me a half hour of time at $500 an hour. And you go in and you pay for that lawyer's time for that one project, and that's it. And then the next time you need them, hopefully you don't need them for a year. But if you go in and you need something done, you worry about that. Then you can only do what you can do with the resources you have.
And the average person isn't even going to know that it's a possibility for them to do a first draft and bring it into an attorney to review.
There's all
Right.
kinds of templates on Google, just get something down just to start it, and then bring it and have them edit it as opposed to write something from scratch, because they're going to ask you a million questions about how you want to, run your business, and what they should put in is going to be expensive. Talking about like the resources and the consulting, there's some well-known statistics out there with small business success, and it shifts and changes over the years, but I'm sure we've all heard that, the numbers, 70% of all small businesses fail within the first couple of years of
2 years. Yep.
right? And of the ones that succeed, 50% of those fail before 5 years. And of those that succeed, another, I think it's 50% or
Yep.
might even be more, fail by the time they get to 10 years. So you're talking about an extremely high failure rate in small business entrepreneurship. And that's one reason that so many people who are non-entrepreneurs, will try to talk you out of it, because they've seen small businesses start and fail, and it seems like it's an extremely risky, endeavor, and they don't want that to happen to you. I get it. I understand. Where I'm going with that is why do we recognize those statistics as just like that's just what it is? Small businesses don't succeed. Very small success rate for small businesses. That's the fact. It doesn't have to be the fact. It's the fact because we're not doing anything about it. What resources are we bringing to small business owners and entrepreneurs who endeavor to do great things? What resources are we bringing them to help them succeed, to increase that success rate?
Mm.
We're not bringing, psychological support. We're not bringing business experience and consulting support like we should. They're out there, but it's not easy to find somebody, who can take you step by step through your entrepreneurial journey. There's not a lot of small business mentors. And it's a shame. It's a shame. I don't think that we should hang our hat on 2% of small businesses succeed. Like, that's a ridiculous, shameful number to me. It kind of pisses me off.
I know it does. So is that one of the reasons that we're doing this podcast? Is to bolster them and give some advice for their success?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I don't want to make it sound like, nobody helped me, and because that's not true. People did help.
Right.
You helped, Jerry, and just other people in a different, my Uncle Tom was a successful business owner, and I got, loads of wisdom from him. My own father was a business owner. He lost his business at one point. I think we might have talked about that. And,
Yeah.
the things that I learned from him and going through that experience, I think that helped inform me that, hey, this is possible. It could happen, but I will be okay. Dad was okay. He made it, and that gives that sort of confidence that if you just keep fighting, you'll get there. It's but that being said, I still don't think that there's enough accessible resources to help bolster small businesses and small business success. And so, yeah, if that's one thing that we can accomplish with this, just knowing that there's folks out there who are going through it, who struggle, that's huge. You're not the only one. It's an extremely isolating experience to be an entrepreneur. Nobody gets it except another
100%.
entrepreneur, right? And a lot of times when we're talking to another entrepreneur, there's some, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but there's some
familiarity.
well, yeah, all of that. But a lot of times, if you meet somebody on the street and you're talking about entrepreneurship, and he's an entrepreneur, she's an entrepreneur, nobody really is comfortable at the onset to admit that they're struggling, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, business is good, right? But you're not getting down to the truth of anything. Now you do
Yeah.
with your close friends, when you build a relationship and you feel like you can trust them, you can turn to them and be like, man, shit is bad right now. Like we're
Yeah.
struggling, or I can't figure this out, or I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Like, but that's very few and far between. But I think it's essential that you find people throughout your journey that you can share that stuff with. You need to have that support group, that community of other business owners and entrepreneurs. It's vital. I mean, you'll go crazy, I shouldn't be saying all these things. People are going to scare away, but it's just the reality. Like, you're going to come up on tough times, and you're going to need people, that you got to bounce ideas off and help you think through a thing that you probably already knew, right? But you just you needed to hear somebody else say it.
Yeah.
To help you get there. Like, all that stuff's so important. And that's another thing. If we can do that here with this podcast, and I feel like we're accomplishing something.
When I made the leap from corporate life and actually had my own business full time, the support that I had for that was really spectacular. And it was because I was going into a field, which was business coaching, where first thing I did was hire a mentor coach. This is someone who had done it, who had already created a very successful business and knew all of the nuances and the pitfalls that I might stumble into. So we were able to avoid a number of them. Still got into my own, as we all do, but I don't think I could have made it through my business without that level of support. And in some ways, I'm drawing a correlation here to franchising too, and thinking that the amount of support that's given to a given franchisee, man, that's such an important indicator of their success. How much support can they have? Do they have real support?
Yeah, and I think that the folks who really think it through and assess the different business opportunities that they might have available to them, they settle on franchising. If they settle on franchising, I think that's the biggest piece of it, because they're looking for that support, and they want and need and expect that support. And that's the thing that's going to give them the confidence to get involved with that endeavor, because they don't want to feel that isolation that I'm talking about. When I was talking about isolation, I'm speaking more about, the founder life, where you're creating this thing from scratch, and nobody understands what the hell you're doing and why you're doing it and why you left your job to focus on building this product or creating the service and all of that. Everybody thinks you're crazy. I don't think you get that with franchising. You're coming in as a franchisee. Sure, you've never ran a business before, you've never owned a business before, but you're not alone. If that is a worthwhile franchisor, they're walking with you every step of the way through the process, from your bank loan to your real estate search to your architectural drawings, if you have a build out, to your train. I mean, every single thing. Oh, that's what we commit to. And I know a lot of franchisors who do. And like, you got to do your due diligence and make sure you're with a brand that you feel confident you're getting what you're putting into it. But that's why I love it, because we get to coach and mentor and support these people through their entrepreneurial journey. And it's very fulfilling for me. It's very rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, I agree. Hit pause on the recording for a minute, would you?